Istanbul was Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople.
So today we are going to be talking about Constantinople. Constantinople is an awesome city, and this is just the beginning. So first, I'm going to be talking about the brief history of it, so you guys know what we're going to be going into. So if you guys want to read your textbooks or anything like that, this is just a brief history. So Constantinople is an ancient city in modern-day Turkey that is now known as Istanbul. It is a beautiful city that you have to check out one day. It was first settled in the 7th century BCE, and due to its prime location between Europe and Asia, it developed a thriving port. And in 330 AD, the Emperor Constantine created the New Rome, which is known as the Byzantine Empire. And this was a Christian city of immense wealth and thriving ports, which led to its success. Constantinople stood as the major city of the Byzantine Empire for the next 1100 years, enduring periods of great fortune and horrific sieges, until it was overrun by the Ottoman Empire in 1453. And I'm really excited to start learning about it.
Wait, what?
Well, I guess we have to travel there. Let's get on the magic school bus. Okay, so we're on our way to Constantinople on the magic school bus. The trip is a very, very short ride. Don't worry about it. We'll be there in no time. So now that we're on our way there, you guys should know something about the geography of Constantinople so that we don't get lost. The city itself was strategically placed between Asia and Europe, serving as a connector. Very cool, right? The land was surrounded on all three sides by water. The Bosporus River, the Golden Horn, and the Marmara Sea were some. But it also was accessible through the Mediterranean Sea, the Black Sea, the Danube River, and the Dnieper River. It was also near enough to the Silk Roads. Sorry, gotta turn. To be a big part of that trade route. Needless to say, the city was very well connected, so don't get lost, okay? However, the geography also served to protect the city. That's pretty cool. The Bosporus River had very, very strong currents that were difficult to overcome. And the only accessible route was on land, was over 7 treacherous mountains. So how are you getting there, right? So don't get lost because you could get to those mountains or those currents, okay, kids? Okay, so Constantinople was very well protected. Wow, guys, oh my God, we're already there. What the heck? That was so fast. Okay, right. Now that we have covered the basis of Constantinople itself, we need to dive into the deep culture and gender relations between the people of Constantinople.
This is my favorite part.
Me too.
Let's dive in. First, let's talk religion.
Wasn't the central religion Eastern Orthodox Christian?
It was. In Constantinople, religion is of the utmost importance to the culture and daily life.
Hey, I know something. The emperor, as well as having political significance, has religious significance. The emperor is believed to be a living representative of Jesus Christ and God, and has the supreme power over the church.
Yeah, and religion plays a role in people's lives. Most citizens here attend church regularly. Also, Christianity helped inspire beautiful Byzantine art and architecture.
Yep. Art is sometimes used in the church for services and prayers.
Wow, you guys are on a roll. Society was very religious, and it held certain values in high esteem, including a respect for order and traditional hierarchies. Family was at the center of society, and marriage, chastity, and celibacy were celebrated and respected.
Because family was so significant, women and mothers were seen as the important members of the family unit. And women did have their own spaces called gynaeketis, where they engaged in activities like spinning and weaving.
The role of Byzantine women did depend on their social rank. Despite some restrictions, many women had a role in public life and engaged in commercial activities.
Yeah, but women could not become priests in the church or have similar high roles.
This is where my favorite part comes in. The Empress Theodora, who lived from 500 to 548 CE, and Irene, who lived from 752 to 803 CE, were notable for their power and influence. Theodore in particular is known for having influenced a series of reforms that were beneficial to women.
Oh yeah, how silly I forget about her. She instituted policies prohibiting prostitution, creating convents, and instituting harsh punishments for rape and other forms of violence against women. The reforms also expanded divorce, child guardianship, and property ownership rights for women.
Whoa. Did they have similar roles as men, or were they just tied to the house?
Nope. Many women worked in agriculture and various manufacturing industries and food services. Women could own their own land and businesses, and some would have improved their social position through marriage. Widows became the guardian of their children and could inherit equally what their brother did. We also can't leave out the men.
Well, I guess not.
Were the eunuchs men who had been castrated also an important part of Byzantine society?
Correct. They were able to attain high positions in the Byzantine court, in part because they were regarded as trustworthy due to their inability to claim the throne and have descendants.
Can we talk about art?
Sure.
I know that sculpture was produced in the Byzantine Empire. The most frequent use of sculpture was in small relief carvings in ivory, used for books covers, reliquary boxes, and similar objects.
True. Other miniature arts, embroidery, goldwork, and enamel work flourished in the sophisticated and wealthy society of Constantinople.
Forms of architecture and painting grew out of concerns and remained uniform and anonymous, perfected with a rigored tradition rather than varied according to personal whim. The result was a sophistication of style and spirituality of expression rarely paralleled in what.
You guys didn't mention the Hagia Sophia. I've been in there a ton. It's huge. In the center, it's covered by a huge dome that reaches 182 feet at its maximum and has a diameter of about 100 feet. The domes on it were constantly built and rebuilt throughout history to make them structurally sound, too.
Great factoid! A common theme in architecture was they heavily relied on Roman temple features with their combination of basilica and symmetrical religious structures. They also commonly used brick and mortar for their common building while using marble for more important things like columns and capitals.
There's also a bunch of other things they built besides churches. We have plenty of structures here. Bridges, aqueducts connect us to other regions, fortified walls and forts to protect our borders, homes made from materials ranging from wood and mud to stone. We're so good at building that the Venetians and Slavs took our ideas and put them into their own basilicas, churches, and walls.
They suck.
Do you kids want to learn a little bit about our government?
I actually already know a lot from reading my textbook. Wasn't the government ruled under the theme system where military officers that were in charge of districts granted land to peasants in return for military service?
Yeah, and were the rulers called Caesaropapists? To my understanding, they controlled both the religious and bureaucratic parts of society.
You're both right. Nice studying, kids.
I know more. I know that the emperor was the top of the social pyramid, but he was supposed to consult with the Senate for important matters. He was the monarch, commander-in-chief, and the head of the church too. He also appointed officials for finance, judiciary measures, military, and local positions.
I heard that even though corruption, rebellion, and invasion threatened the system, it survives for a very long time.
Yes, Lucy, and we're very proud of the leaders who led the system. You know what? Let's go meet them.
Hi, I'm Diocletian. I helped reform the Roman military and politics. Most notably, I created the Tetrarchy of Power, which is a system that divided power amongst 4 people. Hi, I'm Irene. I was the first female leader of this city when I took over for my young son. I later became a saint in the Eastern Orthodox community.
Hi, I'm Justinian. I almost recaptured all of the former Roman territory when I came into power. I also created the Code of Roman Law and issued the Hagia Sophia to be built. Hi, I'm Basil I. Not only did I found the longest lasting dynasty of emperors, the Macedonian dynasty, but I also reformed the legal system in my spare time. Hi, I'm Heraclius. I introduced Greek as our official language and created the idea of the theme system. So I'm really essential to everything about this city. Wow, that's a lot of cool people. I wonder how they were all so successful in such a grand nation.
I do too, but I just realized we've been so wrapped up in history we forgot to look around or bring a map. Maybe Eileen could tell us how the city is set up.
I sure could. Our city is divided into 14 districts. However, the city is centered around 2 colonnaded streets that intersect near the baths of Zexopus and Testratoon. This is the most important intersection as
marked by a four-way arch called the tetrapylon.
I noticed that the roads here are not arranged like a grid in New York City and Philly.
That is correct, and this is the way by design to fit around the mountains and other terrain. Like in any city, roads connect big centers of culture like the Hippodrome, Hagia Sophia, Palace, and of course, the tetrapylon. Another security feature is that there are only a few roads that lead in and out of the city, so it's hard to go unnoticed when traveling.
Look, kids, here's a traveler named Fulcher of Chartres' house. He was a priest who served in Jerusalem for some years and traveled to Constantinople in 1100. Listen to what he has to say about our city.
How great is that noble and beautiful city? How many monasteries, how many palaces there are, fashioned in a wonderful way. How many wonders there are to be seen in the squares and the different parts of the city. I cannot bring myself to tell in detail what great masses there are of every commodity. Of gold, for example, of silver, and relics of saints.
Wow, you can tell that he is really gushing about the lavish commodities and the wealth stored here. Thanks, Fulcher Chartres.
Don't get too close for that handshake. You never know who's carrying the plague of Justinian around.
Plague of Justinian? What's that?
Oh, it's only the largest plague outbreak that killed 20 to 40% of our population after it started in 542 CE. I wouldn't worry too much. The biggest outbreaks were last reported in 750 CE and were mainly spread before it because of rats and fleas that accompanied the trade routes.
That's a lot. What kind of people live here anyway?
Just us good old Byzantinian Greeks, mainly. Yep, we're really proud of how we spread our Greek language and tradition, Roman law, and our Christian faith. Our identity is really defined by how we think we're heirs to the culture of ancient Greece, the political heirs of Imperial Rome, and the followers of the apostles.
Wow, how many of you guys are there?
Well, by 500 CE, Constantinople had somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000 people. Don't mean to brag, but we edged out Rome for the world's largest city at the time. But then the plague happened, and the Persian War shortly after made our population fall again. But then, under the Comnenian dynasty from 1081 to 1185, Constantinople had a recovery, and the emperor became fabulously wealthy, and the population rose again. Not only that, but towards the end of Manuel I Comnenus' reign, the number of foreigners in the city reached 60,000 to 80,000 people out of a total population of about 400,000 people. Then in 1171, Constantinople also contained a small community of 2,500 Jews. Oh, and also in 1182, all Latin inhabitants of Constantinople were massacred, but that was their own personal problem. And then finally, in 1453, the Ottomans took over at our most vulnerable when we had about 50,000 people within our walls. This, of course, was due to the Black Death in the 1350s and our general economy and territorial decline. You know how it is.
Yikes. Now we are in a Constantinople trading market. Due to its prime location, Constantinople was a trade hub. All the major trade routes were centralized here, especially the Silk Roads. Constantinople was an all-trade industry. However, its main industry was silk textiles. Also, due to its economic growth, Constantinople established banks and businesses. Now let's get shopping. Oh man, I'm hungry. Let's get to the yummy stuff. There's a lot of lovely food in Constantinople. Bread, vegetables, soup, egg, fruit, nuts, milk, cheese, meat, and poultry. And so many more were priority foods for Constantinople.
Enough about the food. Let's get to the shopping?
Yes. In the early stages of the Byzantine Empire, the traditional Roman toga was still used as a formal or official dress. By Justinian's time, this had been replaced by the tunica or long chiton for both sexes, over which the upper classes wore other garments like a tamalitika, a heavier and shorter type of tunica, again worn by both sexes, but mainly by men.
Modesty was important for all except for the very rich, and most women appear almost entirely covered by rather shapeless clothes, which needed to be able to accommodate a full pregnancy.
Great, Lucy. The basic garment in the early empire comes down to the ankles, with a high round collar and tight sleeves to the wrist.
Wow, it's so cool to see the shift in clothing.
Not just clothes, everything.
True. That's the magic about learning world history. We get to locate and follow all these trends that in the end make us so much more aware of the things we have right in front of us.
We love world history, especially Constantinople.
So take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone. Constantinople, why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks.